Hey guys, we just got done seeing the new Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This is the 5th entry in the series. The only Mission Impossible I do not like is the second one. I've been a big fan of these movies, though. I always have. The first one I grew up with, so I'm very nostalgic for the series. And this is one of those rare series that I think, in my opinion, just gets better and better each time. And this is one of those movie series that knows how to do a reboot. Because, let's face it, Mission Impossible. I mean, I never watched the TV show. When I say I grew up, I mean I grew up watching the movies, not the old TV show. But let's face it, Mission Impossible is a very outdated concept. It is kind of like James Bond, but like the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, Mission Impossible knows how to stay in touch. They know how to be genuine to the original franchise that it is based on, while also knowing how to appeal to the new generation.
Which I agree with that, I do. But I feel like this movie, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I'm not saying this ruined it for me.
As did I.
But this movie kind of took that to the extreme.
Yes, it did.
Because everything, it's so technical and stuff. And a lot of that stuff, that doesn't exist. You know, that stuff is not real.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It's a spy movie. I get that. But it's like everything is so technical, and
that's where it falls.
It was ridiculous.
But that's where it falls under the line of being true to the original source. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how in a Daniel Craig Bond film, if he pulls out a ridiculous gadget, it's like, well, that's James Bond using the gadget. Mm-hmm. Or if in a Daniel Craig Bond film, you have a genuine moment, but the next you know, he's sleeping with a random girl. It's like, well, that's old school James Bond, as ridiculous as it is. That's what this is. Yeah, like the other Mission Impossible films, there's some ridiculous gadget stuff, but that is very much, it's the Impossible Mission Force, you know. It's kind of a goofy setup, but they know how to keep it in touch with this generation. What I'm saying is, I love that this reboot, because I consider this and Ghost Protocol to be kind of reboots, so to speak. And I loved Ghost Protocol, and I really liked this movie, this new one too. But I like how they know to stay true to the original movies and the original source material, while also knowing how to stay focused on what, you know, action films today are like. You know, this movie and Ghost Protocol have very unique fight scenes. They're memorable fight scenes. They're well choreographed. They're PG-13, but it's not annoying. It's rather done in a way
when you're watching a PG-13 movie and there's a fight scene and you find yourself going ooh or ah,
yeah,
you know, that's a good way to do PG-13. Sign.
They know how to be PG-13 to the point where a mainstream audience can go see it, but that does not mean that they are doing that by ruining the violence. The violence is still impactful. It is still memorable, and it gets your blood pumping as an action film should. So, really, honestly, if you liked Ghost Protocol, you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna go on kind of the con side, this does not offer that much different from Ghost Protocol.
No.
So, I mean, most people I know really liked Ghost Protocol, and because for obvious reasons, it's a very fun movie. Mm-hmm. But if you didn't like Ghost Protocol, but you're curious about this, you're probably not going to like it. It's very similar. Very, very similar.
There's no terrible CGI Kremlins blowing up in this one.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh, that didn't look good.
Yeah. And I agree with you. You said earlier before we did the review, I think these movies know how to do dumb fun well.
These movies are able to be dumb fun, but not to the point of where it makes me mad, like Fast and Furious.
Sure. And I actually like Fast and Furious, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
These movies are not condescending. I mean, for me, that's why I hate the Transformers movies. You know, they try to be dumb fun too, but I hate those movies. These movies know the fine line, and they do not cross it.
I don't feel condescended on when I watch Fast and Furious.
Okay.
I just hate how ridiculous and
it
stupid
is.
it is.
Sure. Yeah, sure, that's fair enough. And so we got Jeremy Renner back, and he's great. Mm-hmm. And Simon Pegg, and he's also great. Alec Baldwin's in there for a little bit. He's fun. Mm-hmm. I will say, if I really had to choose, I would give the edge a little more to Ghost Protocol as far as which one I liked more. But I still really like this one. But one thing that I thought this movie did do better than Ghost Protocol is I liked the villain a lot more. Because the villain of Ghost Protocol is very generic. This villain was fun.
Yeah.
He is a fun, over-the-top action
Another
villain.
thing that this film did is the black guy, the guy that's...
Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Ving Rhames.
He has a much more
Yeah.
bigger role in this film than he did in
Ving Rhames is in every single
Ghost
mission.
Protocol, he just kind of had a cameo.
Exactly. In every Mission Impossible, Ving Rhames was a main character, except Ghost Protocol, where he literally has a 15-second cameo.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I saw Ghost Protocol in the theaters with my family, and when we saw him, they were like, "Hey, it's Ving Rhames!" But then, then he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
If you blink, you miss him. But in this, Ving Rhames as Luther, Ethan's friend and coworker, he actually has a legitimate supporting role in this. He works with Jeremy Renner. I thought him and Jeremy Renner had really fun chemistry.
Yeah, they did.
Because they basically in this movie, Ving Rhames and Jeremy Renner are working like side by side. And they don't get along.
Ving Rhames doesn't trust him, and
Jeremy
Renner doesn't trust Ving Rhames, and
So,
it's pretty fun.
It's funny chemistry.
Yeah, getting back to the villain. Yeah, the villain was a lot more unique in this film than in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah,
and he's pretty awesome.
I mean, anybody that's watched our reviews know I love a good old-fashioned, ridiculous, over-the-top.
Well, it's because
villain.
it's fun.
It's
fun to watch a fun villain.
And let me rephrase, in an action film.
Yeah.
In an action film that you do not take seriously. This is not applied to my review of Southpaw that I just did, where I complained that the villain became cartoonish because Southpaw is a drama. Mission Impossible is not a drama; it's a fun action film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like the villain in this new one. Tom Cruise is looking good. I mean, he's doing.
Do you think? I mean, obviously it's not as bad as Ghost Rider or anything. But do you think any of the was CGI'd, or do you think that's all him? I mean, I guess I haven't seen.
You know what? I'm gonna guess
practical photos with a shirt off recently.
I'm guessing.
I'm sure he's in good shape.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was legit because you really, when he's shirtless in the movie, it's very brief. Most of it is out of focus. You don't see. I mean, it implies, of course, that he's in stellar shape, but you really don't see much of that. And I think he is in good shape. I think he does train.
Yeah.
I think he works very hard
I'm sure.
to be in tip-top shape. Whereas in Ghost Rider, when Nicolas Cage had the CGI abs, that shot...
It's so fake.
He is oiled up.
Mm-hmm.
It's shining bright on him, and it's focusing on these clearly not real abs. It looked way more... I think Tom Cruise was in legit good shape.
Obviously, in the scenes where he's doing really extreme physical stuff, I'm sure that was obviously a stuntman.
Absolutely.
Which is fine. I'm fine with that.
I mean, it's the same thing with...
he's a 53-year-old man. I mean, you can't
I
expect
mean,
him...
he looked pretty much more or less the same in Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
So I think that was legit. And I thought that was good. The action scenes, again, like Ghost Protocol, very unique, creative. I thought the espionage scenes were fun too. The main highlight one is where he goes underwater to change data for a computer thing. I'm not going to get into it, but each Mission Impossible has that critical scene where everything's silent and he's doing something dangerous. And this one was done really well. It was shot really, really well, and it was handled really well.
Even though it's one of those scenes where even though he's gonna live, he's gonna survive, it's still kind of
intense. They've always done a great job building the pressure in Mission Impossible 1 when he is almost dropped to the floor when he's breaking into CIA, and Mission Impossible 3 when he's got to get the rabbit's foot before the time runs out and his wife dies. And, just in Mission Impossible 4 when he's climbing up a building, Spider-Man style, and the magnets on the gloves stop working. But
I mean, even though in this one, the setback part of it, where the thing comes back and hits him, I could see that coming from a mile away. Yeah. But it was still...
The moment they show the shot of him putting the disc, in his pocket, I was like, that's going to get lost. He's going to get him switched. He's underwater. That's gonna fly out, and that's exactly what happened. But that's the thing. Even though this movie has a lot of predictable moments, it's fun. It's not boring. And it's not predictable to the point where it's like, why am I even watching this? It's fun, predictable, if that makes sense. But I would definitely recommend this movie.
I would.
It's a fun summer action film. This is just the kind of movie that this summer needs.
And also we were talking about it on the way home, but I'm also really glad, like we were saying, that the female in this film did not become the love interest. Yeah. At the end,
they hint. There's the second lead in this one. I'm not sure who played her, but it's a female lead, and I thought performance-wise she did fine, and her character overall was fine. But they kept teasing a love interest between her and Ethan Hunt, and I was not okay with that because, as a fan of the series, how consistent they were with Ghost Protocol. I was like, Ethan Hunt has a wife, and I was like, for them to drop the ball on that with no explanation and have him have this new relationship, I would have been really upset. But they don't do that. They tease it a lot, but they don't do it. So I agree. I'm glad they did that. But at the end of the day, I still got to give the edge just a little more to Ghost Protocol. But this was still a really fun installment, and this remains to be one of the best, as far as action franchises that are currently out. I would say this is one of the best ones out there right now. Ghost Protocol was only a couple years old. It came out the same year the Avengers did.
Oh, did it?
And
I never saw it.
I think it did. I'm pretty sure it did. And around that time. And it's only been a couple years since. And so yeah, I think I don't know if they have any more in plan. They probably do, because I'm sure this is doing pretty well in the box office.
What was the joke that we made when we were watching when they said something in context in the film, but I was like, well, if it does good at the box office, then
it's a line in the trailer where Jeremy Renner is talking to Ethan Hunt, and he says, Ethan, this may be our last mission. To which he said, well, unless it does really well at the box office, then
we'll have another
There's no way it'll be the last mission. And I talked to you guys before. One thing about going earlier about how there's really nothing that different plot-wise about this movie, because a lot of these movies are very similar.
All the plots of these movies are pretty much the same.
They are,
but it's kind of like
one of
how many Bond films are there? Like 26 now?
More than that.
Yeah,
I think it was 27.
And every single Bond film basically has the same setup.
Yeah.
So so it's okay.
One of the subplots in this movie is about the Impossible Mission Force being disbanded because it's unstable. And my reply to that honestly is, yeah, it is. There's always a mole. Always. It always goes rogue. There's always an issue. It's always been breached. IMF is a terribly run government branch. Terribly. It reminds me of CTU from 24, because every season of 24, there's a mole in CTU. I'm like, this counter-terrorist unit does a terrible job making sure there are no terrorists in their counter-terrorist unit.
Because basically, when they're being disbanded, Alec Baldwin is talking to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and
Alec Baldwin runs the CIA,
and he's the head of the CIA,
hates
and
IMF.
he basically is trying to get them disbanded by using every example from all the other movies. Like they breached the CIA and they stole this information from the first one. They blew up the Kremlin. They did this, and it's pretty.
He's right.
It's pretty funny.
He's completely right. Yeah. IMF does a terrible job. Ethan Hunt is really the only one that's keeping that branch alive.
Yeah,
he is single-handedly.
I cannot confirm or deny any.
Jeremy Renner is great in that role. Between him and Tom Cruise has been playing Ethan Hunt for so long. He's got that character down well. Ving Rhames is always fun to watch.
I think Simon Pegg's got his character down.
He has it. It's the third time.
That's kind of Simon Pegg's character, though.
He is Simon Pegg. He's just kind of being Simon Pegg, but he's
even though he's Scotty in the Star Trek reboots, it's still like Simon Pegg's Scotty. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I think we're both in agreement. We both recommended this was, I would say, behind Mad Max, off the top of my head, this is probably the most fun action film I've seen this summer. Maybe this year. I'd have to go back and read.
Taken 3?
That's true. Taken 3 was just such a terrible film. So, but
do you want to talk trailers really quick, or
we only have one trailer we need to talk about. We had a brief teaser, not a trailer, a teaser. Zoolander 2 is finally happening. and we're gonna go see it.
No.
Yes, we are.
No.
And I knew for a while now that Ben Stiller was bringing that movie back, but I forgot about it. So when this teaser happened, I laughed so hard, and then I laughed more when I realized that you literally turned your head because you did not want to watch the trailer. You did not want to watch Derek Zoolander be an idiot. Ben Stiller has got that role down perfectly. Speaking of people who have not lost their touch.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller did not skip a beat playing Derek Zoolander in that 1 minute teaser.
It was pretty funny teasers though. Like, even though I hate Zoolander and I'm probably gonna hate this movie, but it was a pretty funny trailer because it's like doing this thing where it like looks like it's super like
intelligent,
and it's gonna be like this drama or something, and then it like starts giving you all these hints that it's not, and then it like goes and here comes the punchline. We're like, okay, what's the stupid punchline?
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, and also I guess there's another Jobs movie coming out now.
Yeah, we have a second Steve Jobs biopic. No, we're not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. You can go see it. I'm not seeing it.
I gave you my stance on that on the drive home.
Yeah,
So
we're not seeing that. Sorry, but anyways, so yeah, we both thumbs up for both of us for Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation.
Yeah,
So
good movie.
Thanks for watching.